The series opens with Sarah explaining that the idea came to her in a dream. She says that hair is a woman's crown, her beauty, and a mirror of the soul because it reveals a woman's beauty in the eyes of those around her, especially in photographs where her hair looks its best from her own perspective. Hair speaks for a woman's personality, who she is, where she has been, and even where she is going, because every place has its own hairstyle. Without saying a single word, people can tell where a woman is headed, since a wedding hairstyle is different from one worn at a funeral, and both are different from styles meant for evening gatherings. Sarah is deeply passionate about hair care products. The path is never easy, yet she refuses to give up. Over time, she continues chasing her passion until she finally reaches what she has achieved today. Then the story shifts back to 1908. Sarah is standing in a marketplace, feeling too shy to call out to people and offer them the hair cream she carries. Slowly, she begins to lose hope of selling it at all. Suddenly, a woman approaches her and says she has heard about the product, asking if it truly works. At that moment, Sarah tells her that it saved her life from complete collapse. She begins to share her story, explaining that hair is a woman's strength, and once she loses it, she loses her power, living in pain every time she looks in the mirror. She says she was born to suffer, working in laundry washing to the point where her fingers bled from the harsh scrubbing. By the end of each day, she earned very little money, barely enough to survive, with no hope of rest or comfort. After a while, she loses hope, and with it, she loses her hair as well. She is married to a man named Davis, who is arrested for a long period. When he is finally released, everything changes for the worse. He becomes constantly drunk, drinking nonstop, until his anger turns violent. He starts beating her, mocking her appearance, and blaming her because her hair is falling out, and he thinks she looks ugly. One day, he strikes her with a whiskey bottle on the shoulder, seriously injuring her, then leaves the house and walks away. She begs him to stay and not abandon her, but then she sees her reflection in the mirror and knows that he sees her as completely unattractive. At that moment, she asks herself why she was created ugly and why her share of beauty is so small. Still, she remains faithful and does not dwell on the question for long. Then, unexpectedly, a lifeline arrives. One day, Addie comes to her door to offer her a hair care product, while Sarah is at the lowest point of her breakdown. Sarah stands at the doorway, then turns away and goes inside crying. Addie follows her, unsure of what to do, and promises to help her. From that day on, Sarah begins using the cream. Over the following months, her hair slowly starts to grow back. She feels overwhelming happiness as she sees her hair again after believing it was gone forever. Along with her hair, her confidence returns as well. She continues speaking to the growing group of women gathered around her, sharing her story and telling them that she is now in a relationship with CJ, a man who loves her, respects her, and treats her well. Once her hair grows longer, she decides to help Addie sell the cream, hoping to help other women regain their confidence just as she did through Addie's support. She even suggests becoming one of the sellers herself, just as Addie allows others to sell the product, because she truly believes in its results. When Sarah presents the idea to Addie, she initially refuses. She believes Sarah lacks marketing and sales skills, seeing her only as a laundry worker with no experience selling hair products. Sarah responds by saying that during the time she used the product, she brought in 8 new customers without any effort at all. She asks Addie to imagine what could happen if she actually tried. Still, Addie continues to reject the idea. Then Sarah explains that hiring 2 light-skinned girls will not help because people know their hair is naturally healthy and that it is not the product that made their hair grow. Because Sarah is dark-skinned, and in 1908 racial discrimination against women like her is still deeply rooted, she is confident she can sell the cream. She sees herself as living proof of the product's success and believes she is closer to the women who truly need it. However, Addie continues to refuse the idea of letting Sarah help her. She insists that their agreement is clear, laundry work in exchange for the cream, and she does not want that arrangement to change. Then Sarah tells her she will take the clothes to wash and bring them back on Friday. As she is leaving, she notices the cream Addie sells right in front of her. At that moment, she makes a risky decision. She secretly slips a few jars into the laundry basket, determined to sell them and prove that Addie's thinking is wrong. She is confident she will succeed, not only because selling the cream has always been her passion, but also because she wants to help other women the same way Addie once helped her. Back at the market, Sarah finishes telling her story to the women gathered around her. She tells them that just as the product worked for her, it will work for them too. Then the first woman buys a jar. jar. Soon after, a second does, then a third. One by one, Sarah sells every single jar she has. Later, she goes straight to Addie and proudly tells her that she managed to sell 20 jars of cream in just one place. Instead of reacting with pride or relief, Addie becomes furious. She tells Sarah that she trusted her, only to be betrayed, accusing her of stealing the product and selling it without permission after she had clearly refused her request. She adds that she will not allow Sarah to damage her reputation or the image of her product for any reason. Sarah apologizes for crossing boundaries and promises it will never happen again. She leaves the full payment for all the jars and returns home heartbroken. Then CJ arrives, carrying flowers, ready to celebrate her as the newest sales representative for Addie. Instead, he finds her crying. She tells him that she should have known her place, that she is nothing more than a laundry worker, and that Addie treated her badly. Despite the affection and trust between them, Sarah realizes that to Addie, she is nothing more than a customer, and an ugly one at that, unfit to be the face of a product. Because of this, Sarah decides to chase her passion in a different way, by creating her own product from scratch. She completely cuts ties with Addie and begins working late into the night. Eventually, her daughter Lilia comes to check on her. Sarah tells her that she will test the new product on her until she perfects the formula. She even notes that her cream already smells far better than Addie's. She applies it to Lilia's hair and scalp, but Lilia immediately feels a burning sensation. Sarah adjusts the formula again and again, testing it on friends and everyone she knows. Each time, she uses a new variation, trying to determine which formula is the most effective. Her excitement grows until she finally lands on a formula that successfully helps her friends grow their hair. Then one day, Addie shows up at her house. She says the laundry was left behind and never picked up, claiming she came to check on Sarah and see the product she supposedly stole. Sarah calmly tells her not to worry, explaining that the product is entirely her own and that she did not steal Addie's formula. Addie responds coldly, saying Sarah can never compete with her and is bound to fail. When she does, Addie adds there will be a large basket of laundry waiting for her. Then she turns and leaves. Still, Sarah continues producing her product. Soon after, BJ, CJ's sister, places an order for 20 jars after lending one to her music manager. Now, she explains, all the singers want the cream. Filled with ambition, Sarah suggests to CJ that they leave their town and move to America, pointing out that there are 3 million women there. She refuses to live in Addie's shadow any longer and says that if she could sell just one jar to every woman in America, she would become a millionaire. CJ, however, shuts the idea down completely. He tells her it is impossible for him to leave his hometown and move to America, and that this will never happen. After some time, they travel together to America and move there to start a new life. Lilia comes with them, along with her husband John, whom Sarah deeply dislikes. She sees him as a failure and extremely poor, believing he will never be able to give her daughter a decent life. In her eyes, all he thinks about is opening his own music bar. The four of them travel by train and end up living in the same house, along with CJ's elderly father. Everyone helps Sarah prepare the cream according to her instructions, while CJ takes charge of promotion and advertising. They print paper flyers and hand them out in the streets, announcing the opening of their home as a beauty salon and a place to sell the cream. However, when opening day arrives, no one shows up. Their hopes collapse, and disappointment fills the house. By the end of the day, Sarah is devastated. Then, CJ comes to her and tells her it seems they made a mistake by moving there, especially since their money is almost gone. He explains that he looked for work and found a hotel hiring staff, suggesting they could take those jobs. Sarah refuses immediately, telling him that no one succeeds easily and that they have to keep going. CJ responds that they have people depending on them who need to eat and that they can keep trying for 2 more weeks. But after that, they will have no choice but to apply for the hotel jobs once their money runs out. The next day, Sarah goes back out to distribute flyers. She heads to the city market, standing with her cream in front of her. She speaks to everyone around her, telling them her story and explaining how she suffered in life just as they did. She says her pain went so far that all her hair fell out, simply because she never had time to care for it, the very mirror of her beauty. When she lost her hair, she lost her beauty and her confidence as well. Then one woman tells her she once dreamed of working at a hotel, but was rejected because they said she was not beautiful enough. Sarah continues, explaining that people care more about appearance than about inner value. She offers the woman a free hairstyle at her salon. Right there in the market, she begins offering her services for free because she knows that proper hair care is not easy or accessible for everyone listening to her. She explains that this is her purpose and that beautiful hair is the first step toward greater opportunities. Then she introduces them to her cream. Slowly, she begins selling her product. As a result, result, the name of her salon spreads, and women start coming from all over the city. As business grows, they desperately need more help because the number of customers far exceeds the number of people working in the salon. Sarah struggles to keep up with demand. Then she gets an idea. She needs to make her product and her salon legal in order to expand further. She asks her husband to find a lawyer to handle the legal procedures. He sends her to visit Sweets, his cousin, a law school graduate who now works as a baggage porter at the station. Sarah goes to convince him to join them. At first, he is afraid. Sarah's business is still new, and if she fails, he will fail with her. So he refuses to help. At that moment, Sweets is carrying heavy luggage. When he delivers it to the owner, the man scolds him, accusing him of damaging the bag and calling him careless and unfit for the job. After that humiliation, Sweets changes his mind and agrees to work with Sarah. Sarah continues building her business until she receives troubling news. Addie is opening a new salon in the same city. The news deeply worries her, as Addie could easily steal all her customers. In her imagination, Sarah sees herself in a boxing match against Addie, fighting to determine who will win the market. Sarah takes her daughter and goes to Addie's new salon to see her in person. They find it open on a busy street in a large, impressive location, which makes them even more anxious. As soon as Addie sees them, she comes out to greet them. She looks bruised, her eyes swollen, clearly trying to hide it from them. Lilia greets her politely and asks if she came with her husband, Jean. Addie tells them that Jean has passed away and that she moved to the city alone. Then she excuses herself and goes back inside the salon. At that moment, Sarah realizes that Jean did not die. He is the one who hurt Addie, and it is very likely that she ran away from him. From then on, Sarah starts thinking seriously about how to make her product stand out even more, so customers will not abandon her and go to Addie's salon. The next day, Sarah and Addie run into each other at church. Since Addie is new in town, she introduces herself to everyone, proudly saying her name is Addie and announcing that she is opening the first independent beauty salon in the city, not a salon operating out of someone's kitchen. Her words deeply upset Sarah. She excuses herself and goes to the bathroom, trying to calm down and think. Suddenly, she remembers the humiliation Addie once put her through, and that is when an idea hits her. She walks back outside and gathers her friends, telling them she has a wonderful idea she wants to share as a thank you for supporting her product's success. She announces a special promotion. Every jar of cream comes with a free one, and the first 5 women to buy will also receive a free hairstyle. However, the demand quickly becomes overwhelming because their operation is small and home-based, not a factory. They need a very long time to keep up with orders. Jean is supposed to watch the ingredients as they boil, but he leaves the house to smoke a cigarette. Suddenly, the mixture overheats, ignites, and causes an explosion that damages the entire place. Thankfully, no one is injured. Still, Sarah blames herself, believing the disaster happened because she pushed herself beyond what she was ready to handle. C.J. tries to comfort her, telling her they will rebuild and start again just like before. Then Addie hears what happened. Almost immediately, she shows up outside Sarah's house, handing out her own flyers. Sarah confronts her directly, saying she knows Addie came to gloat and steal her customers. She tells her that she will not allow Addie to crush her determination again. She declares that she is turning her home into a full-scale factory, and from now on, if Addie wants to address her, she should call her Mrs. C.J. Sarah's confidence leaves Addie visibly shaken. Certain of her own strength, Sarah decides instead of renovating her house, she will rent a large space to serve as her official factory. She approaches investors from the city, proposing that they partner with her to equip and launch the facility. She explains that although she has enough money to repair her home after the fire, she chose instead to pay a deposit on the new location so she can expand and grow faster. The investors voice their concerns to CJ, saying Sarah is asking them to take a major financial risk. Sarah responds firmly, explaining that the idea is hers, that CJ is a core part of the business, and that she is offering them 20% of the profits. Still, none of them are willing to risk their money on a project with no guaranteed success. They tell her they cannot give her an answer at the moment and walk away. Later, Sarah notices a flyer for Booker Washington, the writer and civil rights advocate for Black Americans. She decides to meet him, hoping his support will convince investors to trust her vision. Meanwhile, Sarah's family continues producing the cream at home after partially recovering from the fire damage. Tension fills the house, and everyone blames John for what happened. John defends himself, saying it was not his fault. Sarah was the one who insisted on making such a large batch, and the stove could not handle the pressure, which caused the explosion. He adds that he is only working with them to save money to open his own bar, and once he does, he plans to leave and work independently because he never intended to stay with them in the first place. Sarah does everything she can to meet Booker, eventually turning to Ransom for help. He asks his wife, Nettie, to assist her in arranging a meeting with Booker. At the same time, Ransom advises Sarah to prepare a backup plan, warning her that nothing is guaranteed. Sarah tells him she could take out a loan using the house as collateral, but Ransom immediately refuses, explaining that he will not allow her to risk losing both the house and the factory at the same time. He then mentions a man named Theo who is willing to hear her proposal, but only if the profit share is adjusted slightly. Ransom adds that Theo is one of the wealthiest men in the city, and that if CJ speaks to him, he might agree. Sarah strongly objects to CJ getting involved. She believes he is not as skilled as he thinks, and more importantly, this is her company, so she should be the one negotiating. Without hesitation, she goes to meet Theo to hear his offer. She returns completely shaken. Before she even enters the house, her father-in-law sees her and asks what happened. Sarah tells him that she went to Theo's place, where he tried to assault her. She says she did not allow him to touch her, threatened him with the gun she was carrying, warned him she would kill him if he came any closer, and then escaped from his house. Her father-in-law tells her that CJ has not returned yet, and that they should keep what happened a secret, because if CJ finds out, he might commit a serious crime. Sarah goes inside to calm herself down. Soon after, CJ arrives carrying 3 tickets for the conference taking place the next day. He tells his wife that he, his father, and John will attend because women are not allowed to enter the conference. It is strictly for men. Sarah firmly tells him that she will attend no matter what and that John will have to deal with it somehow. She then orders John to finish repainting the burned basement and to go buy the paint supplies from the market. John feels deeply resentful about the way Sarah treats him. On his way, he passes by Addie's salon and greets her. Addie invites him inside for a drink. She asks about Sarah, and John tells her that Sarah is currently focused on trying to attend Booker's conference so she can gain his support and attract investors for her factory. Addie tries to offer John money in exchange for any information he might learn about Sarah, but he refuses. He tells her that he loves his wife, Lilia, and would never do anything to harm her or her family. As he gets up to leave, Addie tells him she could help him open the music bar he dreams of. She says if he ever changes his mind, he can come to her at any time. The day of the conference arrives, and Sarah attends. Ransom tries to arrange a meeting with Booker so Sarah can speak to him about her factory. However, during the event, Sarah discovers that Addie is there as well. Addie is invited onto the stage where Booker introduces her and presents her work to the audience. Sarah waits anxiously, hoping her name will be called too. Instead, the break begins without any mention of her. Desperate, she tries every possible way to reach Booker. She speaks to his wife, hoping she can arrange a meeting, but his wife tells her she does not interfere in her husband's work and cannot help her. Then Sarah sees Booker heading into the restroom. At that moment, she sends CJ after him to invite him to lunch. Against all odds, it works. They rush home to prepare food for Booker. The entire family is filled with excitement as they wait for his arrival. Sarah stands alone in her room, facing the mirror, encouraging herself to succeed and believing that her factory will succeed as well. A knock comes at the door. It is Ransom, standing respectfully without looking at her. He tells her that Booker will be meeting her shortly, that he will support her factory, and that investors will soon rush to partner with her. Ransom says he wants to be the very first to invest in her business. He hands her $500, money he won from a bet, telling her that it is from his own work, then leaves the room. After Ransom goes downstairs, he runs into Sweets, his cousin, whose work is mostly illegal. Sweets asks him how he managed to get into the gathering. Ransom pushes him away, but Sweets explains confidently that he has every right to be there now because he has officially become an investor in Sarah's factory. He admits that he helped Ransom win the bet, knowing for sure that Ransom would give the money to Sarah and use it to buy a share in her business. Realizing the trouble this could cause, Ransom immediately throws Sweets out to prevent any problems. Everyone remains at home, waiting anxiously for Booker to arrive, but he is delayed for a long time. Sarah finally asks what really happened in the restroom and how Booker reacted. CJ admits that he followed Booker into the bathroom and locked the door behind him. Frightened, Booker pulled out his gun and threatened him. CJ explains that he told Booker exactly what he wanted and invited him to lunch at their house, and that Booker agreed and promised to come. Sarah immediately knows the truth. She tells CJ that Booker only said what he wanted to hear because he was scared and that he is never coming. The realization crushes her, especially since she now has only 1 week left before losing the factory building. She sits there, overwhelmed, unsure of what to do next. Eventually, she makes a bold decision. She calls Mary, Booker's wife, and asks to attend the conference she is hosting the next next day. She prepares a gift of her hair cream and brings her daughter along, offering to style their hair before the event. Sarah speaks directly to Mary, telling her that women must support one another and should not be afraid to present new ideas to their husbands. She explains that when she tried to pitch her idea to Booker by phone, his secretary dismissed her, saying he was not interested in beauty culture and rejected the idea outright. Sarah says that if no one is willing to help her, she will rely on herself. All of this happens right in front of Addie. Then Sarah turns away and heads straight to Booker's conference. This time, she does not wait for her name to be called. She walks directly onto the stage and introduces herself to Booker, saying her name is Sarah and asking him to support her factory, which would create many job opportunities, especially for women. She explains that women-led institutions strengthen the entire community. The women in the audience erupt into applause. Booker then asks to speak with her privately. In private, he tells her that she will not receive his support. He explains that her reckless behavior, interrupting his stage and his speech, proves that she does not respect him, and for that reason alone, he refuses to back her project. When Sarah returns home, she suggests to CJ that they mortgage the house. He completely rejects the idea, telling her she has no right to make such a decision as if he does not exist. He makes it clear that their home will not be mortgaged, then storms off to his room in anger. Soon after, Sarah receives unexpected news. Mary and her friends have decided to support Sarah's factory using their own money. Each woman hands her a check so she can finally begin building the factory. Ransom is at the house and notices CJ standing alone in the garden, distant and troubled. At the same time, John reaches a breaking point. After realizing that Lilia does not truly love him, he decides to destroy Sarah. He goes to Addie and tells her that he knows the real reason behind Sarah's product's success. Despite everything, Sarah succeeds in opening her factory. She hires a large workforce of men and women to help produce the product, along with a dedicated sales department to distribute it. She speaks to the sales team, explaining that she built the factory on her own and plans to expand her salons by opening 5 more locations. The managers of those salons will be her top 5 sales representatives, including Dora, CJ's mistress. Because in Sarah's company, hard work is rewarded, promotions are real, and no one stays stuck in the same place. Meanwhile, her daughter Lilia rides her bicycle around the factory with her friend, paying no attention to her responsibilities. Watching this frustrates Sarah deeply. Sarah goes to John and tells him to make his wife respect the place she is in and stop playing around inside the factory. Then, she notices him looking closely through the factory's accounting papers. At that moment, she tells him she is suspicious of him and certain that he is planning something, even though she still does not know what it is. Later, Sarah goes to speak with her husband because they have an upcoming business trip. CJ is busy preparing a new advertising campaign for the woman who will represent their company, the most beautiful dark-skinned woman he can find. His goal is to make her the face of the product, someone every woman dreams of looking like. If she promotes the cream, everyone will use it hoping to resemble her. After thinking it through, Sarah likes the idea and tells him it is a strong campaign. They agree to launch it after returning from their business trip, since they are traveling together to New York to expand the business and meet someone who will help distribute the cream to more stores. While Sarah's business continues to grow and expand, Addie's situation moves in the opposite direction. Her customers begin to disappear one by one, pushing her closer and closer to bankruptcy. Desperate, she considers opening her own beauty school under her name and calls a friend to help her set it up. Sarah travels to New York, but this time she takes her daughter Lilia instead of her husband. She wants to introduce her to the world of business and teach her everything she knows. Together, they see all kinds of hairstyles and cuts. Sarah is excited about the expansion, knowing that in New York, they will sell much larger quantities because people there care deeply about their hair. Meanwhile, Sarah imagines her husband flirting with beautiful girls riding bicycles in front of her. In reality, CJ is indeed cheating on her with Dora, taking advantage of Sarah's constant travel to spend more time with Dora. However, his father notices what is happening. One day, he waits for CJ when he returns to the factory and confronts him, warning him that he is destroying himself. He tells him that he does not understand the value of true love between him and Sarah, explaining that what he is experiencing now is nothing more than a passing desire, while the regret that follows will never fade once he loses the woman who truly loves him. CJ tries to justify himself, saying that Sarah is always traveling, always working, and never paying attention to him, and that this is a difficult phase for him. His father responds sharply, saying that real hardship is what he himself lived through. when he was enslaved and his wife was taken from him because their owner lost a bet. He tells him how he could only see her once a week after begging their owner just for a brief meeting. That, he says, was real suffering. He warns CJ that if he does not hold on to his marriage, it will slip away forever, and that while loneliness may hurt now, regret hurts far more. Meanwhile, Sarah arrives at the hotel where she is supposed to meet a businessman. She plans to propose that he carry her product in his stores, guaranteeing him strong sales if he agrees. However, he dismisses her immediately, making it clear that he only does business with men, not women, and refuses even to look at the sales study she prepared to increase his profits. Then a man named Billy appears in the restaurant where they are sitting. He is one of the founders of a well-known national association, and everyone recognizes him. Lilia is especially excited and wishes she could meet him. The businessman calls Billy over to their table. The moment Billy sees Sarah, he recognizes her by name, stunning everyone around them. He explains that Sarah is the woman who stood up to Booker at his conference, forced her way onto the stage, and addressed the audience despite his objections. He tells them that Sarah became the talk of the association for months because of what she did. Before leaving, Billy hands her his card, telling her that if she ever needs him, she can contact him at any time. After hearing Billy's words, the businessman changes his tone completely. He tells Sarah that anyone who stands against Booker is considered a friend of his, and that her idea deserves to be presented to the board of directors. At the same time, Dora is sitting with her fellow saleswomen, telling them she has a way for them to make far more money than they ever have before. She says that Sarah has been promising them their own stores for months and never followed through, and that now it is time for them to take matters into their own hands. They do not have to keep working for Sarah anymore. Then Dora opens the door for Addie, who has already made an arrangement with her to convince the girls to work for her instead. Meanwhile, Sarah is speaking with her husband, telling him that the board of directors will be visiting her factory to evaluate it. When he asks about the advertising idea he suggested earlier, she tells him she did not even bring it with her because she felt it was not appropriate. Her only focus was securing the board's approval. That answer enrages him so much that he smashes the phone in his hand. When Sarah returns to the factory to prepare for the board's visit, Ransom arrives with bad news. Her top 5 sales representatives have resigned and gone to work for Addie. Sarah is deeply upset, but she immediately decides to visit each of them personally and bring them back before the board arrives. On her way, she runs into Sweets, who tells her how happy he is to finally meet the owner of the factory he invested in. Ransom quickly pulls Sweets aside and asks him to wait in his office. Then he admits to Sarah that the money he gave her came from a bet he made with Sweets. This only makes her angrier. She tells Ransom that Sweet's business is completely illegal, and if anyone from the board or from anywhere else finds out that Sweets is involved, the entire factory will be seen as suspicious and could be shut down at any moment. She makes it clear she will not allow that. Ransom promises her that he will take care of the situation with Sweets. Sarah leaves and goes to see Dora first. Inside Dora's room, she finds CJ with her. The moment he hears Sarah's voice, he panics, trying to hide and throw on his clothes as fast as possible. Sarah enters the room, sees him standing there, and asks what he is doing in Dora's room. He claims he was trying to convince Dora to return to work at the factory and not leave for someone like Addie. But Sarah understands the truth instantly. She realizes that CJ is cheating on her. Unable to process what to do, she walks away in silence. CJ runs after her, trying to explain himself. Finally, he snaps and tells her that her neglect is the real reason. She forgot she was a woman and a wife, caring only about work and money, forgetting everyone around her, including her husband. He tells her that this is why he fell for Dora. His words cut so deeply that Sarah cannot even respond. She goes home, shuts the door behind her, and locks him out. After gathering what strength she has left, Sarah goes to the factory to meet the board of directors. Through her presentation and her determination to expand, she impresses them with her vision and her way of thinking. However, the meeting quickly collapses when CJ shows up at the factory drunk. He tells her she should not even think about meeting the board without him, and that after locking him out of his own house, she will not be able to get rid of him at the factory either. The disruption becomes so severe that the board ends the meeting immediately, using the excuse that they have a train to catch. Just as Sarah's marriage begins to fall apart, Lilia's marriage to John collapses as well. Lilia waits outside Addie's house, certain that John is inside. She knows he has been searching for the secret formula behind Sarah's cream, but he fails to find it anywhere in the house. John tells Addie that once he finds the formula and hands it over to her, Sarah's factory will be shut down, and he will no longer have a job there. As a result, the amount of money Addie plans to pay him for the formula should be doubled. When he leaves Addie's house, he finds his wife waiting for him outside. She confronts him, telling him she never expected him to betray her after everything she did for him, supporting him, and letting him live in her home. She tells him she wants a divorce and that their marriage is over. The next day, Sarah and Lilia each know exactly what happened to the other. Lilia tries to comfort her mother, telling her that they do not need anyone's help, especially now that they have entered the New York market. She says she wants to move there permanently and open their first salon in the city. Sarah keeps thinking about her daughter's words until they arrive at church and see Addie walking in, accompanied by the sales agents she stole from the factory. At that moment, Sarah makes a powerful decision. She will become the face of the factory and its products herself. Her image will be placed on every single product, and she will never back down. She will keep expanding until her brand spreads across the entire world. Lilia agrees with her mother's decision to move forward and open a salon in New York, and Sarah sends her off to begin that journey. When Sarah returns home, she finds CJ standing there, waiting for her. He apologizes for what he did and admits that he was wrong. Sarah tells him that she trusted him, but he betrayed her twice, once with Dora and again with his behavior in front of the board, which directly caused them to reject marketing her products. She makes it clear that she cannot forgive him this time. She asks him to pack his things and leave her house immediately because she intends to continue without him. Sarah's fame continues to grow rapidly until she becomes known as the first self-made American millionaire, a woman who built herself from nothing and founded a haircare manufacturing empire. She becomes the public face of all her products, with her image printed on every jar of cream she produces. Beyond that, she owns numerous salons dedicated to haircare and beauty products, supported by sales representatives spread throughout the city, selling Sarah's brand everywhere. She opens a new salon in New York, which achieves massive success. After that success, she decides to move to the city herself. Everyone who knows her celebrates her arrival, but during the celebration, she suddenly feels dizzy and collapses. She wakes up in her bed with a doctor standing in front of her. He tells her she must commit to eating only vegetables and completely step away from work for at least a year if she wants to protect her health. He explains that her condition is extremely serious based on her test results. She is suffering from kidney failure with no hope of treatment, and she is, in effect, slowly dying. Sarah decides to hide the truth about her illness from Ransom and Lilia. She tells them it is only temporary exhaustion. As soon as she recovers enough to stand, she announces that she wants to hold a major conference for all her workers, bringing 10,000 employees together under one roof. She insists the event must be enormous, larger than any meeting ever held by the National Business Association. Ransom begins searching for a venue large enough to hold such a crowd. Once Sarah is able to leave her bed, she goes down to her salon and finds it nearly empty, with only a small group of people laughing and joking. Furious, she orders them to leave immediately. Lilia quickly steps in and explains that these people are the most famous performers in the city, and that they booked the entire salon for themselves. Realizing the misunderstanding, Sarah apologizes to them. Then she pulls her daughter aside and tells her she wants her to come along to see the conference venue. She also tells Lilia that she plans to find her a husband because she wants to see her grandchildren before her life comes to an end. 2 years have passed since Lilia's separation from John, and Sarah insists that she must settle down soon. She promises that she will personally choose the right man for her, someone who is not simply after her money. While Sarah is talking to her daughter, she suddenly sees CJ walk into her salon. He tells her that she may be able to run, but she will never be able to hide from him. He explains that he came to make her sign the divorce papers so he can move on with his life and marry Dora, his lover. Sarah refuses to sign anything before making sure that he and Dora will not use her name in any legal or illegal way. She reminds him that the name she became famous under is Madam C.J, and if he marries Dora, that title would automatically become hers as well, allowing her to use it however she wants. Sarah demands a guarantee that her name will not be used. CJ responds coldly, saying his name is his to use however he wishes. He throws the divorce papers at her and tells her he expects them signed and delivered to the hotel where he is staying. Then he leaves. Back at the hotel, CJ tells Dora everything that happened and explains that Sarah refused to sign the papers. Dora tells him to handle it by any means necessary. She insists that she is a star too and deserves to take his name after marriage because together they could make far more money than they ever have before. She adds that if they cannot get Sarah's signature, then they should destroy her. She reminds him that he must have secrets that, if taken to Addie, could easily ruin Sarah. The next day, Lilia is preparing for a new photo shoot at her house. She has managed to secure a meeting with the board of a major pharmacy chain to present their product, and the shoot is meant to support that deal. Lilia does this partly to distract her mother from the pain of her husband and the divorce. She goes to Sarah and tells her the date of the meeting, which fills Sarah with joy. A deal like this could finally make up for the one that collapsed 2 years earlier, after CJ stormed into the board meeting drunk and destroyed everything. Sarah goes downstairs to attend the new photo shoot that will be presented to the pharmacy board. The model is a young girl named Fairy, whose natural charm immediately impresses Sarah. She tells her that she has the most beautiful hair she has ever seen and would make a perfect advertising face. Lilia explains that Fairy used to clean her salon and comes from a struggling family. Her father passed away, leaving her mother alone to raise 7 children, the youngest still an infant. That is why Lilia decided to help her and bring her to the shoot. Sarah tells her daughter she did the right thing and asks her to inform her of anything Fairy's family might need. She adds that having children around the house is a beautiful thing, even if they are not her grandchildren, a comment that makes it clear she still hopes her daughter will give her grandchildren someday. After Sarah goes up to her office, Ransom comes in to tell her they are facing a serious problem. Finding a venue that can hold 10,000 people is extremely difficult. He suggests reducing the number of guests and limiting attendance to only the top sales representatives. Sarah proposes holding the conference at her current home, saying the house is large and the garden even larger. Ransom immediately refuses. He reminds her that she is the first Black woman to live in that neighborhood, not because she bought her way in quietly, but because she is famous and well-known. Having 10,000 people flood the area would look like an invasion to the neighbors, who might call the police, and the police could arrive with dogs, or worse. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a phone call from Addie. Addie tells Sarah that she has finally discovered her secret and will destroy her at last, just as she has always wanted. She claims that Dora, CJ's fiancée, told her that Sarah's formula was stolen from her. Addie says she plans to take samples to a chemist to prove that Sarah is a thief who stole her product and her success, and that Sarah's factory will be shut down very soon. After the call ends, Ransom looks at Sarah and tells her not to worry. He assures her that he will personally take care of the situation. Sarah and Ransom go to meet the board of directors to present their product. Suddenly, Lilia enters the meeting with a performance group meant to showcase the brand, but Sarah immediately stops her and apologizes to the board for her daughter's behavior. Before Sarah can even begin her presentation, the chairman tells her there is no need to speak. Her reputation has already reached them, along with the press coverage praising her work. The pharmacy chain wants to partner with her commercially, and the agreement is finalized on the spot. Sarah is overwhelmed with joy, realizing that this deal will officially make her a millionaire. She decides to celebrate and goes to CJ's hotel to see him. She tells him that he is the only person who knows she originally took Addie's formula, and that this secret was supposed to be buried with him forever, because if it ever came out, it would completely destroy her reputation. CJ tells her that he tried many times to apologize, but she never allowed him to speak. He says he had no other choice and admits that he still loves her. Sarah tells him she needs time to think before deciding what to do next. When she leaves the hotel, she finds her daughter waiting for her. Lilia tells her she has made a decision. She does not want to get married or start a family. Sarah reacts angrily, telling her that she does not understand what is at stake. She reveals that she is dying and needs an heir to her fortune. The doctor told her she does not have much time left, and she desperately wants to see a grandchild who will inherit everything she built. She asks her daughter what the point of all this wealth is if there is no one to carry it forward. Overwhelmed, Lilia promises her that she will settle down the way her mother wants. The next day, Sarah speaks with Ransom about distributing the products through the pharmacies, but she notices that he is distracted and distant. He tells her the truth. They still live in a society where a Black man cannot live freely. He explains that he left his wife, child, and family behind, and that Sweets had been the one looking after them. One day, Sweets took his son out for ice cream. Some white youths attacked the boy. When Sweets demanded an apology, they refused. Their families became angry at Sweets' tone. beat him, dragged him through the street by his legs, and finally lynched him on a tree, while no one intervened, simply because he was black. The shop owner hid the child immediately to protect him. Ransom admits that for years he hated Sweets for his illegal work and arrogance, but he never once thanked him for protecting his family. Now it is too late. Sweets died defending his son. Sarah decides that Lilia will stay behind to prepare the conference, while she and Ransom travel to attend Sweet's funeral. There, she sees CJ again. When she looks at him, she simply smiles, without saying a word. After the funeral, Addie follows Sarah and tells her that her lawyer is beginning legal proceedings. She says she is tired of people minimizing her efforts and wants to reclaim her image. Sarah responds calmly, telling Addie that the image she will be remembered for is that of the woman who shut down Sarah's factory, threw 100,000 workers into the streets, and became the villain of the story. She tells Addie that if she wants her to confess to taking the original formula, she will do so without hesitation, but only if Addie also admits that Sarah improved and perfected the formula, and that there was a time when all Addie wanted was to work with her. Sarah reminds her that they could have been a powerful team helping women everywhere, but Addie chose to reject her. She tells her she no longer has the strength to keep fighting. Life is too short. Addie accepts her words and walks away. Sarah heads to the train station, where Ransom is waiting for her. She tells him to stay with his family. They need him more than she does, and that she can handle the conference without him. She hands him the signed divorce papers from CJ and asks him to make sure that if anything happens to her, neither CJ nor Dora receives a single dollar from her estate. She says she is certain he knows about her illness because her daughter was never good at keeping secrets. Sarah returns home to prepare for the conference, which is held in her own house and organized to perfection. However, the sales department objects to distributing the products through pharmacies, arguing that it would make their jobs meaningless if the product sells itself. They give her an ultimatum: cancel the pharmacy deal, or they will all resign. When Sarah returns home, she finds her daughter sitting with a young man, but she looks deeply unhappy. Sarah calls her over and tells her that the expression on her face made her realize she cannot force her into a life she does not want. She tells her to follow her heart because Lilia is her true wealth and her legacy, and she will always love her. Lilia responds by saying she wants to carry on her mother's legacy, but not alone. She explains that she plans to bring Fairy into their lives, have her live with them, support her education at the best universities, and make her part of their family. She says she has already spoken to Fairy's mother and received permission. Sarah is overjoyed, realizing she now has a second daughter. Sarah steps outside to address her workers, telling them they are not just employees. Otherwise, she would never have invited them into her home. She tells them that she dreamed, and they made that dream possible. Because of that, she announces that she is canceling the pharmacy deal. The celebration begins in her house. As the party continues, Sarah reflects on every moment of her journey, from the hardships of her early life to becoming the first self-made black millionaire in America. She imagines herself standing beside her parents. After Sarah's death in 1919, her daughter Lilia takes over the company and factories, with Ransom remaining by her side until his death in 1947. After divorcing Sarah, CJ marries Dora and opens his own company, but failure follows them until both the marriage and the business collapse. Later, Fairy takes over the company, and to this day, Sarah's granddaughter continues fighting to preserve Sarah's legacy and fortune. Sarah is remembered in the Guinness World Records as the first self-made millionaire in American history.